One cleaner's surprising tea service to a millionaire revealed the incredible truth of kindness. Each dawn, Anna greeted the world with a resolve formed in the crucible of hardship. The rising sun cast long shadows across the Maplewood gazebos, illuminating her small apartment where two slumbering kids reminded her of the urgency of her days. Slipping out before the light, she steeled herself for another grueling day of cleaning opulent homes for wealthier families whose lives felt galaxies away from hers. Each vacuuming, dusting, and surface scrubbing session was punctuated by thoughts buzzing with worry. Her children, their future, their dreams skewed by her relentless grind. Uneasiness gnawed at her. Was her toil truly paving a better life, or a mere repetition of struggle? When she first stepped through Liam's grand estate, the air shifted. Marble floors gleamed like the ideals she was trying to reach, while his silent walls seemed to whisper of secrets untold. She caught glances of him through slightly ajar doors, yet he often stayed secluded in his gilded isolation. Unfazed, Anna threw herself into her work, driven by a tenacity that helped her ignore the twinges of self-doubt. What did she really know of the life he lived? It was those unexpected moments over chamomile tea, a fragrance of warmth against the chill of formality, that pulled her into a fragile bond with Liam. He began sharing fragments of his past, stories flecked with shadows, tenderness battling the burden of wealth that had built walls around him. Simultaneously, Anna spoke of her days filled with the chaos of parenthood and grinding details of cleaning, her honesty a stark contrast to the opulence surrounding them. Joy sparkled momentarily, yet doubt lingered when she couldn't shake the feeling that his troubles might never touch her world, nor hers his. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With the impending gala looming above them, tensions began distorting the reality they'd created. Despite Anna's initial eagerness to help, a choking realization struck her. This world of extravagance exerted pressure that felt foreign and suffocating. As she navigated this unfamiliar terrain, fear crept into her heart. Visions of swirling gowns and glassy chandeliers dwarfed her existence. Her hands, once confident in their purpose, now hesitated as the thrill of ambition battled the secure embrace of her values. The brew of hope she'd discovered within herself turned bittersweet as she suddenly felt the weight of her decisions ripple into her former life. When she overheard whispers about Liam, rumors of calculated choices hidden behind his inviting smile, her resolve cracked. The idea of betrayal unraveling the threads of their friendship clawed at her, leaving her breathless. Could he be manipulating her? Who was he beneath the facade of charm? Racing thoughts paralyzed her. She stood on the precipice of a choice, suspense suffocating her as she contemplated an uncertain future with her children hanging precariously in the balance. Torn between the chance at a life she dared to aspire to and the gnawing need for integrity, Anna felt the universe contracting around her, preparing to close in. Anna stood alone in the dim light of her small living room, her fingers curled around the remnants of a forgotten cup, chamomile tea from her last encounter with Liam. The warmth that once enveloped her heart now felt like a chain, pulling her back into an abyss of uncertainty. The whispers she had overheard echoed in her mind, persistent reminders of the complexities woven into their every conversation. Was there ever any authenticity in his kindness? Or was it merely a charm designed to manipulate? A sense of urgency surged through her. She could feel the weight of her children's futures pressing against her chest, and with each heartbeat, her resolve morphed. Would she willingly let herself be swayed by the glamour that was Liam's world? Her memories of late-night discussions over parenting and dreams were drowned by the revelation of hidden agendas. Was there a primal instinct within her, a voice shouting to reclaim her values, to safeguard her integrity at all costs? Taking a deep breath, Anna turned her focus inward, sifting through the blurred lines of her feelings. The stark contrast between her modest life and Liam's extravagant existence lingered in her thoughts, challenging the very fabric of who she was and who she aspired to be. Cleaning lavish homes had never been about the glitz. It was about creating a secure life for her children, not one drenched in unease and deception. The morning light streamed through the apartment's window as she weighed her options. What if Liam's troubles were as complex as her own? Could being part of his world ever be anything different than a means to an end? The thought filled her with a steadfast determination. It was time for a confrontation. She would not delve deeper into an echelons of life, shrouded in pretense without discovering the truth. Fueled by newfound purpose, she reached for her phone, finger hovering over Liam's contact. What had begun as a mutually comforting relationship now appeared laden with unspoken judgments and underlying motives. There was no turning back, no reigniting the lightness they had shared over tea without first addressing the shadows. The two together had forged a relationship, straddling the delicate line between friendship and something more complex. Over the weeks, their conversations had deepened. She had opened up her world of worry to him, of bills due and dreams deferred. It was only fair that now she demand transparency in return. What had started with kindness needed to evolve into authenticity, a crucial step for her peace of mind, and perhaps his. As she typed out a message, her resolve flared. She requested a meeting before the gala, a chance to air her doubts and fears directly. Would he walk away from that confrontation, unfazed by nature's demand for accountability? Or would they finally peel back the confines of his charming safety net and unearth something real? As she hit send, Anna felt a shift, the kind of shift that hinted at a revelation on the horizon, promising clarity, but dangling uncertainty by a string. The emotions roiled inside her, anticipation mixed with dread. The call for confrontation awakened butterflies and a steely readiness she hadn't realized was buried deep within her. In that moment, she understood what lay at stake. Confronting Liam would not only reveal him, but also illuminate her own path forward. The narrative of her life wouldn't be written solely in the lavish settings of opulence. It would be the choices she made, the courage she found. The message pinged in return, a quick yet ambiguous response from Liam. Okay, let's talk. Thickening with anticipation, she braced herself for this pivotal moment. Would she finally discover the truth veiled beneath his polished charm? Or would she unearth echoes of manipulation that could threaten to unravel everything she had built? The clock only seemed to tick louder as the minute drew near. Anna sat on her worn couch, the fabric slightly faded but still comforting, a stark contrast to the looming uncertainty ahead. Her heart raced as she reviewed the fragmented pieces of her thoughts. The weight of each word on the screen felt like a mirror reflecting both her insecurities and her strength. 10 minutes had passed since Liam had replied, and now every second stretched, taut with anticipation. Her mind wandered back to their most intimate conversations. They had discussed their dreams, vulnerabilities, and the weight of responsibilities, weaving a tapestry of connection that now seemed frayed at the edges. Was this connection merely a thread of convenience, or did it hold significance? She rose from the couch, pacing her small living room, each step imbuing her with resolve. The walls, adorned with pictures of her children, laughing, growing, reminded her why she had to confront Liam. It wasn't about extracting truths from him. It was about reclaiming her narrative and ensuring her children's future flourished within a foundation of honesty. Gazing out the window, she saw the neighborhood bustling with life. Mothers rushing to schools, joggers finding solace on sidewalks, and couples sharing quiet moments in sunlit parks. A world unfurling beyond the confines of her home, a world that demanded her active engagement rather than passive acceptance. She needed to understand her role within it. With her phone gripped tightly, she summoned her courage. Maybe this conversation with Liam could reveal not just his true self, but her purpose as well. She needed to set the boundaries of her emotional landscape, a bulwark against potential deception. As she contemplated how best to navigate their meeting, doubt crept in, a whisper that questioned her intuition. Was she ready to face the person behind the charm, or prepared to shield herself from what lay behind Liam's facade? Minutes later, her phone vibrated, snapping her from her reverie. It was a message from Liam, confirming their meeting time and place. A wave of emotion surged, exhilaration mixed with apprehension. They were to meet at a small cafe, a familiar haunt of theirs, rife with memories of laughter. How ironic that a place she once found comforting now felt tainted with uncertainty. What would they discuss? How could she transform this encounter into a defining moment? Anna navigated through her mental checklist of points to bring up. The discrepancies she sensed, her hopes for clarity, the yearning for authenticity in their relationship. Determined, she jotted down her thoughts in a small notebook. Each word honed her resolve. Each sentence became an affirmation of her intent. She was no longer merely a spectator in her own life. With each phrase she penned, she took a stand, not only for herself, but for her children, instilling in them the values of honesty and straightforwardness. As the hour approached, she meticulously chose her outfit. Nothing extravagant, just a representation of her essence, understated, yet purposeful. She was ready to face the moment that could redefine her existence, both personally and professionally. Stepping out the door, Anna was met with the fresh scent of spring in the air, a metaphorical cleansing she desperately needed. The world outside buzzed with active possibilities, whispering promises of renewal and growth. Arriving at the cafe, she inhaled deeply, allowing the enticing aroma of fresh coffee to ground her. As she stepped inside, the familiar sounds embraced her. The hum of conversations, the clink of cups. This was her territory, a space where vulnerability could coexist with strength. When Liam walked through the door, his polished smile met her gaze. The charm she found delightful tied her stomach in knots. Would he be able to meet her halfway? Or would his facade hold in the face of her confrontation? The moment had come to confront their dynamic. The fabric of her reality was about to be rewoven, but into what shape? And as their eyes locked across the room, Anna knew that she was about to face not just him, but the very essence of trust and authenticity that demanded resolution. What would their conversation reveal, and could it unravel the very essence of the connection they had built? Anna's heart raced as she forced a smile, her throat tight with unspoken words. The laughter shared in this very cafe felt distant now, overshadowed by a weighty urgency. She studied Liam, noting the way his eyes sparkled with effortless charm, seemingly untouched by the impending storm of their conversation. "Hey," he said, sliding into the booth opposite her. His casual manner painted an image of confidence that contrasted sharply with Anna's inner turmoil. But behind her exterior, resolute determination simmered. "Liam, I need to talk to you about something important," she began, her voice steady despite the tremor beneath. The initial moments of small talk faded like echoes, and the atmosphere shifted. She could feel it in the air, thickening with tension. "Of course. What's going on?" He leaned forward, his brows knitted in genuine interest, or perhaps feigned concern. This was her moment to lead the conversation, to disrupt the facade he wore like a second skin. "I've been thinking about us, about everything we've shared." The words tumbled out, unfiltered, imbued with the urgency of truths long suppressed. "And reaching clarity is vital for me. I've felt discrepancies, things unspoken between us that we need to address." His smile faltered for the briefest of moments, and she caught it, a flicker of surprise that filled her with resolve. Here was a man who had evaded difficult conversations, likely controlling the narrative with charm alone. "Discrepancies?" he echoed, tilting his head, his playful demeanor faltering as he adopted a defensive stance. "What do you mean?" The atmosphere crackled as she leaned in, This was her chance to articulate, to stand firm in her newfound strength. I mean the times you've shifted stories, the pieces of your life that don't quite fit together. It's not just about curiosity. It's about trust. Silence enveloped them, pressing heavy on her shoulders, and she could see the gears turning in his mind. It wasn't merely a confrontation. It was a pivotal decision point for both of them. Could this confrontation activate a deeper understanding or merely expose fault lines in their relationship? Liam's expression clouded, and for a moment, he seemed to retreat into himself. Anna's thoughts raced. Could this lead to a deeper honesty, or would he choose to deflect, maintaining control over his narrative? With her breath held, she braced for his answer, conscious that each second poured into this moment would ripple into the foundations of her future. I can explain, he finally stammered, clutching his mug as if it offered him comfort. The vulnerability she aimed to introduce started revealing itself in him. But would it unfold honestly? After a deep breath, Anna leaned back, unconsciously mirroring his posture. She knew that vulnerability required reciprocity. Thus, she needed him to see she was no longer afraid of exposure. Liam, it isn't just about consistency. It's about a relationship built on truth. I want to know you. I want that too, he replied, a flicker of something genuine illuminating his eyes. But I have my reasons for not being completely open, and it's complicated. The word hung in the air, heavy with implication. Anna felt her pulse quicken. Was this the moment she had been waiting for? A glimpse into the deeper complexities behind the smile? Complicated, she repeated, her voice laced with both intrigue and caution. But if we are to move forward, we need to untangle these complications together. Liam's gaze dropped to his coffee, and for a moment, the mask cracked. I want to be honest with you, but I don't know where to start. We start here, she insisted, telling him not just her intent, but asserting her place in the conversation. She sensed that the gravity of this moment demanded a leap of courage from both of them. What lay beneath would define the authenticity of their connection. As he looked back at her, Anna felt a surge of empowerment. She was no longer the hesitant woman seeking validation. Rather, she was a catalyst for both their transformations. But just as she reached for the depths of his truth, her phone buzzed. A message. Something urgent, demanding her immediate attention. The moment hung precariously in the balance as her heart raced. Was it a sign? A distraction from the honesty blossoming between them? Or perhaps a call for strength beyond the confluent paths they were on? And as she peered down at the screen, tension thrummed through her veins, intertwining uncertainty with unearthed resolve. What would this message reveal about who she was becoming? And how would it alter the course of her unfolding reality? The screen lit up with the message, drawing Anna's attention away from Liam's uncertain gaze. It was from her boss, an unexpected change to the day's agenda regarding a high-stakes meeting planned for later in the week. The urgency pulled her momentarily from their intense dialogue. She felt a mix of irritation and reluctance. Here she was, attempting to peel back the layers of her relationship, yet the world was intent on intersecting her personal revelations with professional obligations. Sorry, I just need to... she started, but Liam's expression shifted subtly, frustration tinged with disappointment. It struck Anna that perhaps this small interruption was more than just a nuisance. It might be symbolic of her life's ongoing tension between personal and professional commitments. It mirrored her struggle to find balance, to prioritize her desires while managing the expectations of others. Taking a deep breath, Anna suppressed her instinct to respond immediately to work demands. She glanced at Liam, seeing the disappointment flicker across his face. Was this the point at which she usually retreated, allowing external pressures to dictate her reality? No, Liam. You deserve my full attention right now, she declared, putting her phone back on the table with a determined gesture. Refocusing on him, she realized this was a critical moment, a testament to her evolution. She was standing her ground, no longer willing to let distractions overtake significant conversations. "I'm here," she said steadily. "And I want to know why things are complicated for you. Let's peel back those layers together." Liam seemed to process her commitment, the defenses he had fortified so carefully wavering as he nodded slowly. "Okay, but just know, it might hurt." His voice almost shook, laying bare vulnerability he had previously cloaked. "Sometimes that's necessary," she replied. "I want this to be real." There was a newfound assertiveness in her words, a reminder that striving for transparency was a worthwhile endeavor, both for herself and for their relationship. As the silence draped over them again, Anna became acutely aware of the cafe's ambiance. The clinking of cups, chatter of patrons, and faint music played on, encasing them in a bubble of intimacy that felt both threatening and reassuring. The outside world waited, but this moment was just for her and Liam. It was a step toward personal growth that felt as monumental as it was necessary. "I've never been able to share everything about my life without feeling vulnerable," he finally confessed, his voice barely above a whisper. "It's like showing my scars. They feel too raw, too close, but maybe it's time I did." Anna felt her heart swell with empathy and urgency. His willingness to open up mirrored her own journey, revealing mutual territories of fear and the courage to confront it. "We all have scars, Liam. It doesn't diminish us. It makes us who we are." Just when he seemed ready to share more, his gaze drifted again as another message buzzed on her phone. She fought the instinct to grab it, entrenching herself in this transformative moment. What if we let those distractions wait? Sitting across from her, Liam's expression was earnest. "You're right. No distractions. But I'm still scared." "Scared is okay. It means we're moving toward something important," Anna assured him, sensing a new rhythm in their dialogue. They were edging toward the vulnerability she coveted, pushing against the barriers designed to keep pain at bay. As they leaned into the discussion, ready to explore parts of their lives long overshadowed, her phone buzzed yet again, this time vibrating across the table. The urgency seemed relentless, an unseen force demanding her attention as she weighed the importance of what lay ahead. Was this a signal to remain steadfast, or a new crisis to face? Could she sustain her commitment to honesty in light of this new threat? Anna took a deep breath and held Liam's gaze, feeling the gravity of the moment suspended between them. "Give me a moment to respond," she said. But deeply, she wrestled with the consequences of her choices. Could she truly navigate the complexity of her relationship amidst all else spiraling outward? As she hesitated, the message lay unanswered on the screen, both tempting and ominous. What awaited her in that unseen realm? What truths would be unearthed next? And at what cost? Anna's heart raced as she met Liam's earnest gaze, the weight of the unanswered message heavy in the air between them. The pervasive buzz of her phone threatened to unravel the tender fabric they had begun to weave through their heartfelt exchange. She felt the tug of war within, a desperate attempt to prioritize what truly mattered. The vulnerable honesty that lay at their fingertips against the cold, hard demands of her job. "I need to ask you something," she said, her voice steady but introspective. "What makes you feel comfortable enough to share with me now? What has changed?" His brow furrowed slightly, and she could see the conflict dancing behind his blue eyes. The moment had become vital, a turning point in both their lives. Anna released a controlled breath. This was not merely about Liam opening up. It was also about her own readiness to be open, to accept whatever truths he would reveal. "Maybe it's you," he finally replied, as if the admission itself carried a new weight. "That you're willing to listen, to make space for me." His vulnerability washed over them like a tide, and she felt herself drawing closer, not just to him, but to the person she wanted to be. a person who could navigate the fragile balance of intimacy and authenticity. "It's more than just listening, Liam. It's me showing up," Anna said, a hint of urgency lacing her tone. "I'm choosing to be here, but am I enough for you? Can I be the safe haven you need?" The question felt raw, exposing a deeper fear of inadequacy, a need for reassurance that echoed louder than any corporate demands ringing from her phone. He studied her for a moment, his expression softening. "You are," he said finally, his voice barely above a whisper. It felt monumental. In that instant, something shifted within Anna. It was as if she had cracked open a door she thought would remain sealed shut forever. She no longer felt the pang of anxiety about her job. Instead, there was clarity, a strong sense of purpose wrapped around this shared moment. "I just worry about the noise," she admitted, her voice steady. "I fear I won't measure up to what you need because I feel pulled in so many directions. Work, family, everything." Liam nodded, empathy radiating from him. "What if I told you that I need you to be exactly who you are? Flaws and all? Would you let go of the worry?" There was something exquisite in his acceptance, a balm for her vested concerns. Anna peeled back another layer as she stared into his penetrating gaze, where mutual fears waltzed amid a shared understanding. "If we can love the parts of ourselves we see as flaws," she proposed, "then maybe we can cultivate that same love for each other." A fire ignited within her. She was no longer merely a participant in the conversation. She was creating space to grow. But the vibration of her phone interrupted the moment, the temptation flickering between them like a ghost. The world had not paused. It rushed along, craving her attention. "I can respond later," she stated, voice trembling slightly as she extended her hand over the phone. Yet, that nagging doubt recoiled back into her mind. What if this small act weighed heavily on her role at work? What if disengaging from the demands of her job led to negative consequences? A wave of resolve washed over her, bringing with it the realization that her growth hinged not only on her willingness to engage with Liam, but also on her ability to set boundaries. Boundaries with him, and most importantly, with herself. "Let's take a moment to breathe. Can we be open with each other, even in this tension?" she asked urgently, the earnestness of her request layered with growing resolve. They needed to nurture this connection, to soothe the edges of their fears before the noise became overwhelming. "Let's," he agreed, the fragility of their connection decidedly firming under the weight of shared intent. Their hands united in a small yet significant gesture, and in that moment, Anna felt the potential for growth unfurling. Could this act of vulnerability be enough to reshape her relationship not only with Liam, but with herself, tearing down walls she had built around her heart? As their fingers entwined, Anna couldn't shake the anticipation of emerging truths. Would they fade into the fabric of her uncertainties? Or would the next buzz of her phone crack their newly forged boundary yet again? The choice loomed, and she braced herself for the impact. Anna felt the warmth of their intertwined fingers grounding her amidst the chaos of impending responsibilities. A soft rush of courage welled within her. This was not just a moment suspended in time, but a personal pivotal point, a conscious choice she had to explore fully. She could shift her focus away from the world that demanded so much of her and lean into what was blossoming right in front of her. "Can we talk about boundaries, what that looks like for us?" she asked, intertwining the seriousness of the conversation with the gentle curiosity evident in her tone. It was a deliberate request, a reflection of her growing desire to not only understand Liam but herself. His brow raised slightly in surprise, but a smile emerged as he responded, "I think that's a good place to start, actually. What do you need, Anna?" The question slithered through her defenses, unearthing the layers of anxiety that had become too familiar. She felt exposed, yet there was strength in the vulnerability. The workspace pressures and familial expectations loomed large in her mind, but she tried to sort her thoughts, a powerful navigation exercise in articulating what she truly wanted. "I need honesty, Liam. I need to feel like I can share my burdens without judgment." The words came out almost as a breath, her heart pounding as she laid bare her insecurities. "I want to create a safe space where we can drop our masks. I want to stop chasing the impossible expectations at work and in my personal life." Liam nodded, absorbing her words with what seemed genuine interest. "That makes sense. And for me, it's about being able to express my struggles without feeling like I am a burden." His openness inspired Anna. Encouraged by his vulnerability, she leaned back slightly, grappling with the intricate dance of connection and autonomy. "You know, I often feel that I'm walking a tightrope at work," she admitted. "If I step off, there's a real danger of falling. I've been afraid to set boundaries, fearing my performance would be judged." The honesty between them bridged the gaps of their disparate experiences, creating a mosaic of shared understanding. "Do you find it hard to say no?" Liam asked, eyebrows raising in sympathy. "Very," she confessed. "It's this fear of disappointing people. But I'm realizing that saying yes all the time is slowly robbing me of my abilities to be present. I'm losing myself in a daze of obligation." Each word hung in the air like an unheated kettle. Anna could sense the potential implications, but her determination was sowing seeds of change. "I realize I need to cultivate the courage to confront my own fears, not just for work, but for us too." A battle of wills flickered across her mind. What if setting boundaries meant risking opportunities or disappointing someone? But then a thought dawned. Perhaps this transformation was not only a personal undertaking, but a necessary one for her growth with Liam. "I have to believe that I can remain valuable by being authentic, rather than conforming to every demand. If we can chart a path where we respect our own needs, our limits, imagine how much stronger we would be, not just as individuals, but together," Liam proposed. His eyes sparked with enthusiasm for this notion, the air thick with the promise of their shared exploration. A fresh wave of determination surged through Anna. Every boundary she established would allow more space for what mattered in her life. She began to see that the flexibility she craved meant embracing her own authenticity, but even as the realization dawned, her phone vibrated again. The urgency of the notifications a phantom echo of her old life. It felt like temptation lurking, eager to ensnare her resolve. Would this pull disrupt the burgeoning intimacy she and Liam were constructing? "Can we keep this momentum?" she asked, the uncertainty of her future with Liam now knitted into the fabric of her thoughts. The questions loomed like shadows, prodding her subconscious. Would she be able to stand tall in her decisions? The atmosphere hummed with unresolved tension, and Anna felt the unmistakable edge of urgency. Their connection was aflame, but what consequences awaited her outside of this safe space? As she brought her gaze back to Liam, the weight of possibility settled over them. How far would she go to maintain her newfound resolve before the next challenge tested her commitment? Anna shifted slightly on her seat, a mix of anticipation and anxiety coiling in her stomach. The conversation with Liam had sparked something in her, an understanding that boundaries were not barriers but bridges. They could foster her growth, yet the nagging feeling of outside pressures lurked nearby, ready to pull her back into the whirlwind of expectations she was trying to escape. Determined to maintain her newfound understanding, she considered her options. Exploring her limits extended beyond work, affecting every relationship, including her connection with Liam. She felt the tension between wanting closeness and fearing the vulnerability it required. Would she falter when faced with the realities outside this moment of truth? Each incoming notification from her phone was a reminder of her fragmented life, a world that demanded her attention, often at the cost of her well-being. "Liam," she began, her voice steadying, "I think it's more than just setting boundaries. It's about redesigning how I engage with everything around me. My perspective needs to shift." "What do you mean?" he asked, his eyes keenly observing her. "I need to see my value as something inherent, not tied to how much I can give or achieve. And that includes accepting that it's okay for me to say no." The firmness in her voice surprised her, though underneath it all lay an anxious uncertainty. "But what if saying no changes your work dynamic?" Liam pressed, a subtle concern shaping his words. "I know it might. But if I crumble under every request, how can I ever contribute authentically?" "I must be my own advocate," she replied, feeling bolder with each passing word. "Prioritizing my needs isn't selfish. I need to trust that I can still be effective without sacrificing my sanity." A contemplation hung in the air between them. Anna recognized that she was venturing into unfamiliar territory, but she felt oddly empowered. As they both digested the implications of their words, the realization settled in. This wasn't merely a dialogue about personal space. It was about mutual growth. "Setting boundaries could empower both of us," Liam suggested, moving closer. "If we each take care of our individual needs, think of what we could create together. We could build a stronger foundation." His enthusiasm crackled in the air like static electricity. Anna smiled, the thought blossoming like wildflowers in her mind. "Yes, we could be more honest with each other too. It's like creating our own ecosystem where we prioritize growth." This exchange felt monumental. She was no longer just contemplating her fears, but actively dismantling them. The potential for honest communication in their relationship filled her with hope. Yet, the swift return of reality still beckoned. As the echoes of pressure resurfaced, Anna sensed the challenge of implementing what they were discussing into her daily life. Her phone blared again, this time a reminder of a looming work deadline. She hesitated, weighing the importance of the moment against the distractions tugging at her consciousness. "Do you think I should answer that?" she asked, motioning toward her phone. "Only if you're willing to let it disrupt our discussion," Liam said gently. "Your focus is valuable. Protect it." The tension between her responsibilities and her desires ignited within her a fierce determination. It was as if a spark had ignited a new realm of possibilities. As Anna stared at her phone, she felt the weight of a decision unspooling before her, either to slip back into that ever-present cycle of performance, or to nurture the authenticity they were cultivating. "Maybe this is the moment to truly exercise my boundaries," she murmured, contemplating the future with newfound agency. Would she resist the familiar pull of obligation? Faced with a choice that could redefine her trajectory, Anna grasped Liam's hand tighter, letting his support ground her. "I'll respond later. We can shift the narrative together." Just then, the phone vibrated again, more urgent than before. This time, the message popped up with an unexpected name: her boss, a figure synonymous with relentless pressure and expectations. The realization crashed over her like a wave. Could she truly sustain this momentum after facing the inevitable confrontation she had avoided for too long? The moment of truth loomed nearer, demanding that Anna weigh her newfound resolve against the relentless tide of her professional life. Anna's breath caught in her throat as she stared at the message, her heart pounding beneath the weight of her decision. Each ping from her phone had felt like a call from that relentless world she was trying to detach from, but this one held a different gravity. It was a direct line to her boss, David, a man whose demands had always made her feel like a puppet on strings, perpetually dancing to his whims. She released Liam's hand, tapping the screen lightly to bring the message into focus. "Urgent. We need to discuss the Johnson project. When can we meet?" The words seemed to materialize as bolts of anxiety traveling through her. The tone was insistent. She knew, without a doubt, that David thrived on urgency, often showing little regard for her personal needs. What was once an unyielding obligation now felt like a hurdle she had to clear, yet another test of her ability to assert her boundaries. "It's just work," she murmured, half to herself. But as she wrestled with the paradox of her relationship with her job, she felt the old familiar weight wrap around her like a heavy cloak. "Anna," Liam said, bringing her back to the moment, "what are you feeling?" His voice radiated understanding, a contrast to the pressure she felt looming ahead. "I'm feeling the pull," she admitted, her voice trembling slightly. "The responsibility to appease him, to prove my worth. It's suffocating." "Then maybe this is your moment to redefine that," Liam encouraged gently. "This meeting could be where you set the tone. You have more power in this situation than you realize." His words resonated, echoing her own desire for change. Determined, Anna swallowed hard. "You're right. If I keep caving under pressure, I'll never reshape this dynamic." Releasing the breath she didn't know she was holding, Anna made a choice. Instead of replying immediately, she placed her phone face down on the table, a symbolic gesture of her commitment to prioritizing her needs. She glanced up at Liam, who nodded with a mixture of pride and encouragement. "Let's talk through what you want to achieve from this meeting." He shifted in his seat, fully present and invested in her development. Anna paused, her mind racing. "First, I want to establish clear boundaries about my availability. I can't operate at this level of demand without feeling burnt out." "Good. What else?" "I want to establish a collaborative approach to the projects. I want him to know I'm an asset, not just a resource." The strength of her resolve surged, energizing her thoughts. "That's powerful. You're not asking for permission to exist. You're claiming your space," Liam responded, his admiration shining through. Anna took a moment to absorb those words. They transformed from mere encouragement into a strategy, igniting her confidence. As their discussion unfolded, Anna began drafting an internal response in her mind. Would she challenge the status quo? Commit to her autonomy? She needed to articulate her boundaries, not from a place of fear, but from empowerment. The responsibility wasn't solely hers. David's managerial style needed to adapt to her disclosures. "What if he pushes back?" she asked, anxiety creeping back into her thoughts. "Then you stand firm. Respect earns respect," Liam replied, unwavering. "And if he doesn't respect your needs, that's a reflection of him, not you." As the conversation shifted gears, the conversation felt less like a moment of vulnerability and more like a pivotal training session for a skill she had yet to master. With the clock ticking, Anna felt a growing sense of agency, the kind that roots its existence in realism rather than idealism. She could navigate this. However, that moment of agency slid through her fingers when she caught sight of her phone again, looking back at her like a warning signal. Resisting the tide of her need to respond, she found herself wondering whether she was truly ready. Was she prepared for the confrontation ahead? Not against a project, but against a familiar menace? The weight of her own boundaries seemed to shift as doubt flickered in her mind. In that moment, Anna realized she was standing at a threshold. The only question now was whether she would have the courage to step through it when the door swung wide open. As thoughts spiraled, a sudden realization struck her. This moment might not only redefine her work life, but also challenge her very identity. With each heartbeat, the stakes rose, and she could almost see the next chapter of her life being written. The world held its breath, poised on the edge of her response, and as anticipation tangled with fear, Anna knew that this was not just about a negotiation. It was about reclaiming all that she had been willing to lose. What would be the fallout of her boldness? Would she emerge stronger? Or would the shadows of her past pull her back into silence? Anna's heart raced as she stood at the precipice of transformation, the air thick with possibility and fear. This moment was not just another chance to assert her boundaries. It represented the culmination of her struggles, her desires, and her relentless pursuit of authenticity. The encounter with Liam had reshaped her understanding of herself, but the real challenge lay ahead, the impending meeting with her boss. With determination etched into her features, Anna held on tight to the conversation she had shared with Liam. She had taken the first step toward vulnerability, embracing the unity between their personal struggles. Now, she had to take another leap, one that would require her to assert her worth in a professional landscape that often silenced her voice. As the thought of David's expectations weighed heavy on her mind, Anna felt an electric thrill of defiance surge through her. Remembering Liam's insistence that respect beget respect, she propelled herself forward with newfound clarity. The reminder that she was not merely a contributor, but an integral force in her work, reverberated in her core. She could reclaim her power. Standing outside the glass doors of the office building, she took a deep breath, letting the cool air fill her lungs. The moment felt monumental, pulsing with energy as if the universe was whispering her name, urging her on. The once insurmountable apprehension was now tinged with anticipation. Here was an opportunity, not just to articulate her boundaries, but to redefine her identity. Inside, the office felt like a whirlwind, noise buzzing from all directions. Yet Anna navigated the hallways with intention, each step mirroring her commitment to face her new truth. She walked into the conference room, her heart steadying in the presence of her colleagues, but her eyes fixed firmly on David, who sat at the head of the table with a mixture of expectation and authority. "Thank you for gathering, everyone," David began, his voice commanding attention. The meeting commenced, and while numbers flew, Anna felt an undercurrent weaving through the conversation, a familiar pressure that threatened to constrict her resolve. But she held her ground, sensing the empowerment of having Liam's supportive energy echoing in the back of her mind. As discussions shifted about the Johnson project, Anna felt the weight of the moment approaching. It was time. With an inner breath, she interjected, her voice slicing through the noise. "David, can I add something important?" Surprised, he raised an eyebrow. "Of course, Anna. What's on your mind?" "I want to establish clear boundaries regarding workload moving forward. I need to ensure that I am contributing effectively without overextending myself." The words were deliberate, firm, yet compassionate. She felt the room turn toward her, curiosity mixed with admiration glimmering in their eyes. David's expression shifted, a mix of confusion and interest, but she pressed on, feeling the momentum of her voice strengthen her resolve. "This job demands a great deal from us, and while I'm committed to achieving our goals, I need my work-life balance to sustain that commitment." The words hung in the air, a palpable shift rippling through the room. A few colleagues nodded in understanding, and for the first time, Anna felt a wave of solidarity. David hesitated, then nodded slowly. "I appreciate your honesty. We want you to be your best self at work. Let's ensure we're communicating better about workloads. After all, we're counting on your expertise." A wave of relief crashed over her. The moment held a gravity that felt monumental. She had ventured into the storm, and instead of being cast aside, she had emerged stronger, the very embodiment of resilience. After the meeting, her colleagues approached her with praise, not only for her insights, but also for the courage she had displayed. Anna basked in their admiration, the sensations of validation wrapping around her like a warm embrace. She realized this moment was not solely about standing up to David. It had blossomed into a testament to her own evolution, an extension of the transformation ignited in that cafe with Liam. As she navigated the office corridors, Anna felt the weight of expectations lifting. She had proven to herself that she could articulate her needs, set boundaries, and welcome the discomfort that often accompanied growth. The blend of fear and empowerment was intoxicating, and she relished the knowledge that her journey was only beginning. That evening, when she returned home, she found Liam waiting for her with a hopeful smile. The conversation they had shared felt not like an ending, but merely a new start. As they settled onto the worn couch, the chamomile tea steaming between them, she reached for his hand. "Today was monumental for me," she confessed, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. "I set boundaries. In fact, I felt powerful for the first time in a long time." Liam's face lit up with pride, his eyes glistening with encouragement. "I knew you could do it. You embraced your fears and came out on the other side with clarity." "Oh, it was absolutely terrifying," she admitted, her laughter ringing with joy. "But I realize now that growth is often shrouded in discomfort. I won't shy away from it anymore." Their hands entwined, an exclamation point at the end of their evolving narrative. Anna felt profoundly aware of her voice, the vibrancy of her identity blossoming through the skin of past expectations and new beginnings. Life would still present challenges, but she was equipped to meet them head-on. With tangible achievements marking her path and newfound confidence in her spirit, Anna unveiled her true potential, a journey that encompassed love, professionalism, and an unwavering commitment to live authentically. She was becoming exactly who she was meant to be. This was her moment. Transformation had occurred, and Anna knew she would never look back. Now it's time for you to step into your own transformation. You need to subscribe now to stay updated on exclusive stories of personal overcoming, just like Anna's. Leave a like now to fuel our algorithm and spread these empowering messages. Comment your reactions, thoughts, and theories about Anna's journey. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to hear this powerful conclusion. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to nurture this community where we celebrate growth together.